Welcome back, dear viewers, to our channel where we delve into the darkest corners of history. Today we turn our gaze towards a spectre that once haunted the foggy streets of Victorian London, a figure so terrifying, so elusive that his very name sends chills down the spine even after more than a century. We are speaking, of course, of Jack the Ripper, the infamous unidentified serial killer who roamed the alleys of Whitechapel in the late 1800s. Picture this, if you will: London in the Victorian era. A city of stark contrasts, where the grandeur of the British Empire was marred by the stark poverty and squalor of the East End. The gas lamps cast long shadows on the cobblestone streets, and in those shadows a predator prowled. The city was in the grip of fear. Women were disappearing only to be found later, their bodies mutilated in a manner so gruesome that it sent shockwaves through society. The streets of Whitechapel, once bustling with life, were now haunted by an unseen terror. The police were baffled, the public was terrified, and the press was in a frenzy. Every new day brought with it the dread of another victim, another gruesome tableau in this theatre of the macabre. And in the midst of this chaos, one name began to emerge from the whispers in the dark alleys, a name that would become synonymous with terror: Jack the Ripper. Despite the best efforts of Scotland Yard, the identity of Jack the Ripper has remained a mystery, his crimes unsolved, and his shadow still looms large over the annals of true crime. His reign of terror was brief, but the echoes of his crimes still resonate today, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the heart of a city and in the soul of a man. So who was this Jack the Ripper, lurking in the shadows of Victorian London? Our tale begins in the late summer of 1888, a time that would mark the start of a reign of terror. As the sun set on the cobbled streets of London's East End, an ominous shadow began to cast itself over the district of Whitechapel. The first known victim of this unseen menace was Mary Ann Nichols, a woman of 43 with a troubled past, but nonetheless a human life, snuffed out in the most gruesome manner imaginable. Mary Ann was found on Bucks Row, now known as Durwood Street. Her throat had been deeply severed in two locations, an act of violence so brutal it suggested a deep-seated rage or perhaps a perverse pleasure in the act of killing. But the horror didn't stop there. The lower part of her abdomen was partially ripped open by a deep, jagged wound. There were also several other incisions inflicted on her abdomen. The modus operandi was not only violent but alarmingly precise, suggesting that the perpetrator had some knowledge of human anatomy. This level of brutality was shocking, even for the hardened populace of Whitechapel, who were no strangers to violence and crime. The sheer ruthlessness of the act sent a chill down the spine of the community. The police were at a loss, their resources stretched thin in a district already plagued by poverty and crime. But little did they know, this was just the beginning. In the aftermath of Mary Ann Nichols's murder, the press began to stir, and fear started to grip the hearts of the people. The district of Whitechapel, already a place of hardship and despair, had now become the hunting ground for a new kind of evil. And thus the first blood was spilt, marking the beginning of a horrifying saga. The stage was set, the players unknowingly ready for a reign of terror that would both horrify and fascinate the world for over a century to come. As autumn leaves fell, so did the innocent one after the other. The horror show that had gripped London's East End was far from over. The Ripper's reign of terror was just beginning, and with each new victim the city's fear grew more palpable. Victim after victim was found, each one sharing an eerie similarity. All were women of the night, all were brutally mutilated. The Ripper wasn't just killing, he was desecrating, leaving a gruesome tableau for the horrified onlookers to find. Each murder was more chilling than the last, the Ripper's violence escalating with every passing night. But what struck terror into the hearts of Londoners was not just the brutality of the crimes, it was the audacity of the killer. He struck in the most densely populated district of the city, under the cover of darkness, leaving his victims out in the open for all to see. He was brazen, he was bold, and he was making a mockery of the police force's attempts to catch him. The city was on edge. Every shadow seemed to hide a potential killer. Every night brought with it the fear of another murder. The police were at their wits' end. The public was in a state of panic, and the press was having a field day, sensationalizing every detail of the horrifying murders. The Ripper was no longer just a killer. He had become a symbol of the city's darkest fears. He was the embodiment of the evil that lurked in the shadows, the monster that preyed on the vulnerable under the cloak of darkness. He was the personification of the city's underbelly, the dark side of London that everyone knew existed but preferred to ignore. With each passing day, the name Jack the Ripper became synonymous with terror. The mystery deepened, the fear grew, and the city of London found itself in the grip of a horror it could neither understand nor control. And as the death toll rose, so did the chilling realization that the Ripper was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for his next victim. While London trembled in fear, someone was enjoying the chaos, someone who claimed to be the Ripper himself. This was the chilling reality as letters began to flood into local police stations and newsrooms, each one allegedly penned by the Ripper. Hundreds of letters were received, each more disturbing than the last. Most were dismissed as hoaxes, the work of attention-seekers reveling in the panic, but a handful stood out. These letters, with their gruesome details and taunting tone, felt different. They were too intimate, too chillingly accurate. Among these, one letter stood out from the rest. Known as the From Hell letter, it is perhaps the most infamous of the Ripper's alleged correspondences. Postmarked on October 15, 1888, it arrived at the London News Agency accompanied by a small box. Inside the box was half a human kidney, preserved in ethanol. The letter claimed the other half had been fried and eaten. It was a horrifying memento, allegedly from the Ripper's fourth victim, Catherine Eddowes. This was not a simple letter. It was a macabre performance, a taunt to authorities who were powerless to stop the killings. The handwriting was erratic, the spelling and grammar poor, yet the message was clear. The writer was enjoying the chaos, the fear, and the notoriety. Despite rigorous investigation, it was never conclusively proven whether the From Hell letter or any of the others were truly written by the Ripper. Some experts argue they were the work of journalists, creating sensationalism to sell newspapers. Others believe they were genuine, the dark musings of a killer playing cat and mouse with authorities. Whether these letters were a sick joke or the actual words of the Ripper, they only added to the terror. They remain a haunting testament to the Ripper's reign of terror, a chilling reminder of a time when a faceless killer held London in the grip of fear. Who was Jack the Ripper? This question has baffled minds for over a century. Theories and suspects have been as numerous as they are varied, each offering a tantalizing glimpse into the possible identity of this elusive phantom. Yet the lack of concrete evidence has left us grasping at shadows, forever chasing the spectre of the Ripper. Some theories suggest that Jack was a member of the British elite, perhaps even royalty. The Duke of Clarence, Prince Albert Victor, has been implicated by these theories, with proponents pointing to his supposed mental instability and documented absences during the time of the murders. But like a mist in the morning sun, this theory dissipates under scrutiny. There's simply no solid evidence linking the Duke to the crimes. Then there's the theory that the Ripper was a doctor or a surgeon, given the precision of the mutilations and the anatomical knowledge required. This led to a cloud of suspicion over several medical practitioners of the time, including Sir William Gull, the Queen's physician, and Dr. Thomas Neil Cream, a convicted serial killer. Yet, once again, the absence of substantial proof leaves these theories as mere speculation. Some have even proposed the Ripper wasn't a man at all, but a woman. Known as the Jill the Ripper theory, it suggests the killer could have been a midwife or a nurse, using her profession as a perfect cover to escape detection. But, like the other theories, it lacks the crucial element of verifiable evidence. Countless other theories exist, each as intriguing as the last, from the suggestion that the Ripper was a merchant sailor, to the idea that he was an artist with a macabre fascination for the human form. Yet, no matter how fascinating, none have managed to definitively answer the question, who was Jack the Ripper? Despite numerous theories and suspects, the identity of the Ripper remains shrouded in mystery. The Ripper's reign of terror ended as abruptly as it had begun. The streets of Whitechapel, once echoing with screams of horror and the metallic scent of blood, fell into a chilling silence. The year of 1888, marred by 5 gruesome murders, gave way to 1889, and Jack the Ripper, the shadowy figure who held London in a grip of fear, vanished into the annals of criminal history. Yet the spectre of the Ripper refused to fade away. Instead, it took on a life of its own, growing larger and more macabre with each passing decade. The Ripper's legacy is not confined to the blood-stained cobblestones of Whitechapel. It extends into the realms of literature, cinema, and even video games, haunting popular culture like a relentless ghost. From the spine-tingling tales of Sherlock Holmes to the dark narratives of modern crime fiction, the Ripper's influence is undeniable. His elusive identity and the gruesome nature of his crimes have provided fodder for countless stories, each one more chilling than the last. In the world of cinema and television, the Ripper has been portrayed in myriad ways, as a brutal killer, an enigmatic figure, and even as a supernatural entity. Video games have not been immune to the Ripper's dark allure either. From action-packed adventures to intricate detective games, the shadow of the Ripper looms large, captivating players with its blend of horror and mystery. Even in the realm of music, the Ripper's tale has inspired songs that echo with the chilling melody of his crimes. Yet it is not the Ripper's influence on popular culture that is most chilling. It is the fact that more than a century later, his identity remains a mystery. Despite numerous theories and suspects, the true face of the Ripper remains hidden in the shadows, his crimes unsolved, his terror undiluted. Though his identity remains unknown, Jack the Ripper's legacy of terror lives on. His horrifying tale serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most ordinary of places, waiting to unleash a reign of terror that echoes through the ages. And so we close the chapter on one of history's darkest tales. We've delved into the gruesome saga of Jack the Ripper, a phantom who prowled the foggy streets of Victorian London, leaving a trail of unspeakable horror in his wake. We've examined the chilling crimes, the cryptic letters, and the cloud of mystery that still lingers over the identity of this infamous villain. The Ripper's legacy, as horrifying as it is, has left an indelible mark on the pages of true crime. He remains a spectre of the past, a symbol of fear and fascination, reminding us of the depths of human depravity. Yet, in our quest to understand, perhaps we find not only the darkness that can reside in the human heart, but also the enduring will to seek truth and justice in the face of such darkness. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more tales of terror. Until next time, stay safe and keep the lights on. Before we end this video, a quick reminder. Your support is the lifeblood of this channel. Engaging with our content, liking our videos, subscribing to our channel, and hitting the notification bell are all ways you can help us continue to bring you the chilling tales that you love. Every click, every comment, every share, it all helps us to delve deeper into the foggy alleys of history, to uncover more mysteries and bring them to light. Your support allows us to keep the lanterns burning in the dark, to keep the stories flowing and the shadows at bay. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for being a part of our community. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more tales of terror. Thank you for your support. Stay tuned, stay safe, and as always, keep the lights on.